Hi, I'm Dave Barnes.
And I'm John McLaughlin.
And welcome to Dadville.
Dadville is a podcast where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of awesome dadding.
It's funny thoughts and deep talks.
So please, enjoy your time here in Dadville and enjoy this episode with...
Dave and me. John. Johnny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. Hang on. Let me try to get kind of like a parallel response to that.
Okay.
Dave?
Wow, well done. That was good. Yeah, I went
the other way.
Yeah, I went low. You went high. I remember a lot of things about my life, John.
Yeah, prove it.
Okay. I remember the first time that I heard the song "More Than a Feeling" by Boston.
Oh, don't we all?
I remember that feeling. I remember the first time I almost felt like I was going to die in the wave pool at Waterland in Jackson, Mississippi.
Well, it's every time.
The face of God and him saying, "No, you've got more time."
I'm not ready for you.
Yeah, I'm not ready for you yet. We haven't prepared your room. Question for you: do you remember the first time you shaved?
Back or face?
Oh, listen, and just by your answer, I can already tell you'll love something. Can I tell you what I think you'll love?
I think I know what it is.
What is it?
Manscaped.
Gosh,
I knew it.
Dog it. Listen, with Father's Day right around the corner, the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 would be perfect for any dad who needs a trim, John.
And let's be honest, every dad needs a trim.
Every single one of us.
You know, inside the package, here's what you'll find.
Okay.
You'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer,
yes, sir.
the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner.
Okay, I'm still listening.
Performance boxer briefs.
Don't say
and
travel bag. Don't
a
do
travel
it.
bag.
No.
You know what's coming. It holds all the goodies.
Listen, I don't care what anybody says. Arrest me, folks. I'm just going to say it. The Lawnmower 4.0 will be the official MVP of Father's Day. Their fourth generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology, John.
We all
they think
them.
about everything. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and also has a 400,000 LED spotlight that he needs for that more precise shave.
But wait, Dave.
Okay.
There's more.
Oh,
okay?
no.
Listen,
Manscaped.
Manscaped just announced their brand new Boxers 2.0 that are, dare I say, the best boxers ever.
No,
Now, you're like a boxer connoisseur.
Listen, I know. And listen, 1.0 to me, best boxer ever.
Oh, we all thought it.
Oh,
right?
Gosh.
Listen, these new boxers are packed with revolutionary features, including the Jewel Pouch, TM, designed to cradle his boys in their own special space. This right here is a game changer, Dave.
That's right.
Whether he's mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, golfing in the sun, these moisture-wicking boxers breathe without breaking a sweat.
Listen,
Dave.
get 20% off and free shipping with the code DADVILLE at manscaped.com.
Dads, listen, buy this for yourself.
Do it.
You don't have to wait.
No.
Sons, buy this for you and your dad.
Yes.
Ladies, buy this for your man.
Yes.
And dog daddies, you deserve this treat
That's
too.
right.
That's 20% off and free shipping when you use the code DADVILLE at manscaped.com.
Just do it, guys. Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Here-
Okay.
You guys asked for it, and now you're getting it. Folks, this is
People
another...
asked for it, right? That's not confirmed.
In quotes, yeah, in air quotes.
That's not confirmed.
It's not confirmed, but we're not. So this is another episode, folks. This is just me and Johnny. Just got a ticket to kick it.
Don't say just us.
Oh,
It's us.
the Saints before us.
Yeah.
Oh, it's us. It's not just us.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Oh, there we go.
And we're just, John. Did we talk about this in the last one where you've been sort of?
I can't remember if we said that. The last episode, the last time that it was just the two of us was a couple months ago, and it was kind of just random thoughts that I've had.
Yep.
And we were just going to do it for that one episode, but since then,
I mean, just people went crazy.
they just
couldn't.
golly, the letters that we've yet to open because we just can't get to them.
That have yet to be sent. So many. People just demanding more of this.
But anytime I now have a random thought that, falls into, that I think might be Dadville quality.
Yeah.
I've got a little notes app.
Yep.
And I just open it up and I jot it down in there,
Yep.
So it's been...
Can I ask you a quick... I just said DQ.
Yeah.
What's the earliest on a summer day that you could get something ice cream from Dairy Queen and eat it?
Dave, that's a great If I had that thought, I would be like, "Ooh, that's at the top. I'm not going to the bottom."
I said DQ, and you said Dadville quality,
right?
And it just shot me off into that.
Yeah. What day of the week is it?
Wednesday.
Okay. You're pushing 1:30, I think.
Okay. I think I could do 11, like 11.
Well, I was gonna say 11 if it's a Saturday and some kind of activity has already happened.
Yeah, where you
because that buys you a lot.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't a part of it, if your kid was in a little league game,
you watch
like
someone run.
Yeah, you've been outside. You have to have been outside
you
for at
walked
least
to the field from the car.
Yeah, and then you walked to the DQ from the car.
Isn't it interesting how I feel like this with our kids? Like there are all these things that I just didn't eat for years, like a decade.
Now they're back.
Oh
now
my
they're back
God!
in the Rolodex.
They're not just back; they're in a rotation. Like there's days where we will absolutely get Wendy's, or Dairy Queen is very much in play. Like the kids are like, "Hey, we want to get like a dip cone,"
Yeah.
I mean, I'm absolutely getting food from there. I mean, that is not something where I'm like, okay, and then we'll go home and eat like our kale salad. I'm like, no, I'm getting a what do you call them? Flurries, smurshy.
Blizzard.
Smurshy is what I just said. That's what it's translated to in, I think, Polish. But
Polish blizzard.
Yeah, a blizzard. But isn't it interesting? Like, I feel like everybody reads these books and like, all I eat is it like, the most organic. And then you have kids and it's.
And you're like, well, the kids need to have. You want the kids to have the memories that you had.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So if you're one of those people that grew up never going to Dairy Queen, then God bless you.
Stop the podcast right here.
Yeah, we don't want you.
None of this will apply to your life.
But then you're like, well, I don't want to. What message am I sending to my kids if they get dilly bars?
Yeah.
But I don't get anything.
And then
And then what am I saying to them?
I'm shaming them when I get home by eating that kale salad.
Exactly. So. And then you go through the whole thing where you're like, well, I'll just get a small little soft serve. And then you're like, well, if I'm going to do that, I'll eat the cone.
Right.
And then next thing, you're getting a medium Smurfy.
Listen, tale of my life, really.
Right.
But I wish there could be something attached to my brain for that first time. Because, and I think probably a lot of people listening to this probably agree with this. You sort of like learn like, oh, fast food isn't great for me at some point in your like 20s. I'll even give you early 30s.
Yeah.
And so, you just kind of stop eating there. And I wish there could have been a heat map on my brain for when I ate that, like had a couple McDonald's fries again at whenever that was 33 or 4. Mm-hmm. And like my body was like, where has this been?
Yeah. Are we
We
back?
remember this.
Yeah.
Like
it's getting all the old files out.
Oh, it was like movie clips playing in my head. Also, my body was like, please give us more of this.
Right.
Why have you taken this from us? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like that with every fast food restaurant because I just didn't eat at them forever.
Yeah.
Wendy's, like, the first time you eat what do they call them?
Frosty?
God, what's
wrong? Happening?
Should we start over? Am I having a really slow, steady stroke over this?
Your body has tucked those memories so deep.
By the end of this podcast, I'm going to have gained 15 pounds just because my body's releasing all the things. Listen, I got us off track, John.
That's great. No, you got us right on track.
Let's get to your list.
Okay, here we go. And I have, with the thoughts that I have here, they range. Okay, they range in topic. John. They range in depth. Some of these might get a little serious.
Okay,
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see if we even get to it.
I love that.
So I'm gonna start us out.
Okay.
Nice and easy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. While we're on the subject of food, let's just keep going with food.
Okay. Yeah.
What's your favorite food? Would you say? Not like genre of food, but like favorite. Like, not even meal, just one thing, one item.
I mean, this is pretty quick and easy for me. Giordano's pizza, like that's cheese pizza from Giordano's.
That's great. Okay. I would say mine is my mom's cheesecake.
Oh, yeah, we know this.
It's so good.
Yep.
I've probably said that on here
I want
before.
to. Is it weird? that's fun to say. Is it weird if I want to watch you eat that? I really want to see. I want to see you get in a situation, And I've seen this with you a few times with the, what do you
You've
call
seen
it?
this, the Kringles.
The Kringles.
Yeah.
Where I just love seeing someone who is so disciplined, in such good shape, so like just you're on top of your game, and then you encounter something you have no power over. I get a weird, twisted thrill from that. And so I want to next time, like, you come home from Indianapolis or come home from Anderson with will you just call me? And I'll even sit outside at the window. I don't even have to be inside. I just want to sort of see the dynamic of you around that.
It's pathetic.
Do you do the little, like you do with the...
Yeah, so for those listening, what happens is if it's my mom's cheesecake or if it's a Kringle, which those, I think that's the term, right? It's like the thing, you can get them at Trader Joe's. Yeah. It's like a ring. It's so good.
The super donuts.
These are two things that I have no power.
Yeah.
I'm either going to throw them away and dump gasoline over them.
Yeah.
And I gotta really cover it with gasoline.
You have to aim the gasoline.
Because 10 minutes later, I'll be looking for dry spots. Or I do the thing where, like, I'll have a sensible piece when people are around.
This is the thing. What you're getting into now is what I actually love the most. Is it's not something where you start with the slivers. No, you get, like, you've had a piece.
Yeah, like people are around. We're having a birthday party or whatever. So I'll have a piece. I'll eat it, and then as we're hanging, that
was just entry, though.
Yeah,
that's just you, like, acclimating.
That's me saying to the group, "I'm one of you. I'm normal. I'm just like you."
Oh my gosh!
And then I will, until the thing is gone, I will go in and have microscopic pieces of it.
Yeah, like a lab. Like if you go in and you're getting a biopsy. A slice of something, you will do that for hours.
Like in Jack and the Beanstalk, the Disney movie, where they're so poor they only have the one bean,
and they're slicing it, and you can see through it. Yes,
that's how I do it, and I just do that until it's gone.
It's gone, yeah. So while it's literally tricking yourself into thinking, I haven't had much of this.
I'm just gonna have a little bit more.
It's like micro doses.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a little bit more, and then I'll be done. Or I won't be. Let's not make that. Let's cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's just have a little bit more.
And then how mad are you when Amy gives the girls 2 huge pieces that they eat while you're in your back working on piano, and you come in and your brain, all the chemicals are like, we're about to eat more of this, and then it's gone.
And it's gone. And the thing that I'm saying is I just want a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm like scratching at my neck. I just want a little bit more.
You're like, Luca, breathe into my face. Oh, thank you so much.
Kiss me.
Yeah.
Really kiss me. Okay, here's my question.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what my answer is for this, but this is such a dumb question. But let's say there is an odd. There are some odds on Giordano's Pizza. All of a sudden, come tomorrow on the news, they say, look, we've discovered that there are some Giordano's pizzas that will kill you.
Okay.
What would the number have to be for you to continue to eat Giordano's? Like if they were like, we're noticing that it's 30%. Like you have a 30% chance of dying. Obviously, I'm not going to eat my mom's cheesecake. But at some point, there's a number that I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to roll the dice on that.
I mean, real talk, like me not trying to be funny. It'd be really low. I mean, it would be like 0.5. But it's still I'm still going to do it. It's just at what number am I? I think the tricky thing about that though is that it's not in Nashville. So that changes the whole
right.
You know, if they had a store here or let's say for fun, they like sponsored Dadville. Mm-hmm. And so they were sending us one every week, let's say for fun. Yeah. That's when this gets really interesting because then it's like I've got access to them all the time. Like you do kind of your mom, you know, if you told your mom like, hey, I want this a lot, she'd be like, oh, we'll figure out a way to get you cheesecake. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you have access, you could get that.
Right.
I'm saying that like Giordano's didn't ship, but you know what I mean? So that's when it would get interesting is if it's in the house, it's sitting there, and then I'm going 20%.
Would that make the number go up or down for you?
Oh, definitely up. I mean, if it's around and accessible, I'm going to be smelling it.
Because then you're more so like, if you only...
This one seems different.
if you're only around a Giordano's pizza 3 times a year,
yeah,
then it's more so like, well, what are the odds? If it's in your house every day, I would more so think, well, what are the odds that this is the one that's going to kill me? You know?
Well, too, it's just then you're dealing with temptation. It's like, if it's not around, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to eat it much. But
that's
man,
true.
if it's around, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, dude, okay, maybe the better is honestly Chick-fil-A. Because that's here in Nashville. It's everywhere.
Uh-huh.
They were like chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A. One out of one. Well, okay, this is even more fun. 1 out of every 1,000 will like really upset your stomach for like 3 hours.
Yeah. Oh, that's
you know like then
that's
you're like,
totally different.
I mean, so Satco here in Nashville, Micah and I used to go to once a week when we were single. Mm-hmm. I got food poisoning twice. And I went back 6 days later. I mean, it was just, you're like, hey, you rolled the dice, man. That's how you live.
Yeah. Well, it was affordable at the time. That was a fiscal decision.
Yeah. That was as much a fun. That's so true. That was as much a financial decision. So what about you though? What's the number on Mom's cheesecake?
I don't know. The other thing is the number. There's my answer today, but then as I get older, and really as my mom gets older, like let's say she's, pushing 90 or whatever, then it's like, well, it's my mom's cheesecake.
Yeah, she's
I'm
like,
gonna
I just
eat
can't
it.
make this as much as
I can't make it as much. So that number could be 1 out of 100, and I might be like, that's my mom's cheesecake. I want to.
Okay. Last and we're really up in the game here. Your mom is like, hey, they have run out of the ingredients specific to this. Now I can make you one. It's not going to be that. I've made 10 of them. One of these is going to knock you out for 3 days.
That's a great. The thing is, if we're not talking about death,
so that's.
I mean, unless it's like you're going to lose the ability to use your right arm for the rest of your life. But like, if it's not permanent, I'm in. The number could be whatever.
What if it's one of these you will never be able to play industry again. Like you'll never be able to remember it. You can't play it on piano.
You know where my mind goes immediately?
What?
This is the like self-employed entrepreneur part of me. I'm like, oh, I get online, I tell people what's going on, and I'm like, I'm gonna live stream. Here's my Venmo. I'm gonna live stream industry for possibly the last time.
Oh, bro, that's pro moves,
right?
Why are we not doing that now?
And I get to eat cheesecake. Okay. So we didn't actually say any numbers, but I think those were great answers.
Yeah.
Okay. This is maybe the most random of the random thoughts. So every now and then, I assume this happens to everyone who's listening. Maybe not the people who didn't grow up going to Dairy Queen. They're off the map. I don't even know
who knows what they're doing.
Who knows? But like right now, I've got a coffee, and I have taken, who knows, 100 sips of this coffee this morning, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's high. I don't know.
That feels wrong. That feels wrong. It's a huge coffee.
But how many times do you lift a drink to your mouth? 1 billion times in your life?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Every, I don't know, 2,000,
mm-hmm.
I completely miss my mouth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And dump whatever it is, water all over myself.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And whenever this happens, I'm so like dumbfounded at the absurdity of it.
Yeah.
And I think when I was thinking of this, I was like, let's take this scenario and put it in any other scenario.
Yeah.
Take it away from the drinking. Let's say every now and then I come, this doesn't really apply to my life, but I come home from work, right? Like I do every day.
Yeah.
And I every day I drive down this street and I pull in my driveway and I go in my house. But every 8 months, I go to a different house.
Yeah.
That's like 4 houses down.
Yeah.
And I walk in that house.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I did it again.
Dadgummit. Yeah.
It's
Carla,
absurd.
So sorry, guys. Tom, good to see y'all. Sorry. I'm going to.
Whenever people talk about like a matrix, You know, like a chink in the matrix or something like that.
Yep.
This is the thing that I'm like, why did that happen?
Like every 9 months, you start your car and ram it into whatever's in front of it. Just wham! Just like, dadgummit. Or like you're coming home from work and you walk into the wall instead of the door.
Yes.
Just kind of, oh, man. Okay.
If that happened, that person would instantly lose their license. Yeah. They would be institutionalized.
Yeah.
But it's the same phenomena that's happening with
just
the
on a really small scale.
On a small scale.
Or like, you know what I feel that way about? This is really weird too. 2 examples. One, when you bite your tongue. My tongue has been in my mouth since I was
That's
born.
A great parallel.
And still I don't know how to navigate. A lot of that has to do with me with excitement. If I'm eating something I'm really excited to eat, let's say Giordano's, Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, but that's different because your mouth is
you kind of
actively biting stuff. You know.
But I mean, it's been in there a long time.
But sometimes you just randomly bite your tongue.
Okay, this is another one. This is the second one I was going to say. I almost don't want to say this because people are going to call me and be mad because they twisted their ankles or hurt their legs. Every now and then when I'm walking up a flight of stairs, I'll start to think, gosh, this is a lot of stairs and I'm walking up a lot and I will fall, or like when you really actually start to concentrate on
that's the thing.
Upstairs,
you can't concentrate.
It will mess you up so bad.
Totally. Yeah.
So bad. Mm-hmm. That's one of those, to me, that's a really weird sort of human thing, or maybe just me. But like, if I'm like, at a government, why did I just say this? But a government building where they're like, you got to go up 4 flights of stairs up to whatever,
Why at a government?
Get your key to the city. See where I went with that? I'm telling you, on about the 3rd flight, I'll be like, don't start thinking about this. Because, especially if I'm kind of like, not jog, but kind of like getting up, I'm a little quicker than just do.
Right.
Because I will literally go, oh, God, left. Is this the left or the right? And then I'm kind of.
Totally.
It's really bizarre.
That's true. Those are 2 great parallels, Dave.
I wonder what it's like. Probably people who run like really far distances. I wonder if they ever I'm sure they do. They really think about their running. I wonder if that helps or doesn't.
Well, it's like when back in high school or college, whenever you would like pass somebody or somebody would be behind you, like a girl that I had a crush on or something like that. Yeah. Is like before Amy and I were dating. If she was behind me and we're both walking the same direction or something like that, and then all of a sudden you're so hyper aware of how you're walking.
Everything, yeah.
And you're like, I'm not walking normal anymore, but I don't know how to get back to normal.
She's like, why are you running like a monkey on all 4s? She's like, I don't know. I got nervous and this was the next thing.
Felt right, but it feels wrong.
It feels like the more contact I have, the safer I am. And so this is what it's come to. What if every time you got nervous, you started running like a monkey? John, I want to talk to the parents for a second. Can I do that?
Yeah,
okay.
Go for it.
Listen, parents, everybody knows that social media can be a bad influence on your kids. Everybody knows this.
Yep.
But there's another massive issue that is terrifying and caused by technology that most people are afraid to discuss, which is online pornography.
Most kids are exposed to graphic sexual content online before they even turn 13, and usually it's by accident, which is just unacceptable, especially since research shows that regularly watching pornography is linked with all kinds of negative life outcomes, like worse mental health and unstable romantic relationships.
I think it's safe to say that no one wants that for their kids, but most parents don't know powerful technology exists that can prevent exposure from happening in the first place.
That's why we're proud to partner with Canopy, the world's most advanced internet filter, to bring families a tool that can help them flourish by protecting them from explicit content. Kids deserve a chance to just be kids, and installing Canopy is a vital step all parents should take to keep their families safe online.
Our future depends on the next generation, so learn more about Canopy at canopy.us/Dadville and use promo code Dadville to get 30 days free and 15% off your subscription forever. There's a lot. I'll just really quick addendum. There's a lot. I really do have this thought. It's funny you bring this up. I really do think about this a lot. I'm like, there are a lot of things that I do in a day that are automatic, that are like super duper duper subconscious, that if I really sit there and think about, it's amazing to think. Walking to me is phenomenal. Like if you really sit there and think, I know how to balance at such a high level because that can go wrong in a million ways.
Totally.
Just walking.
There's so many things where, I mean, we could really get into this, but there are so many things where your head, where your head is like crucial while you're learning it, and then it needs to never be a part of the equation.
Dude,
it's the same as the, what do they call it? Founder's syndrome or something like that, where somebody somebody starts a company.
Okay.
But then once the company like grows and it becomes this big company, they're terrible at running it. Like they don't.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they need to be golfing or something like that. And it's the same thing with. I mean, when I run into it the most is when I'm playing piano.
Oh, dude.
Especially like the classical stuff. Like if I need my brain to learn this piece, I am going at a glacial pace. I mean, I'm glacial. But then once I learn it, then it becomes like muscle memory, and then the worst thing that could happen if I'm up on stage, playing is for my brain to get involved.
Yep.
Like I'm trying to get my brain to just enjoy the show, like sit in the audience.
Yeah, right.
Don't get up here on stage.
Yep.
Because then it will mess it up.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It is nuts.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Okay. Moving on. You're doing great, by the way.
Thank you. That really means
You're doing great. It's
Thank
not
you.
a perfect score, but you're doing really well.
Okay.
All right. So, if
Okay.
everyone in the world, let's say, however we can quantify this.
Yeah.
Let's say you could snap your fingers and everyone instantly in the world would be like you. They won't look like you, but they will have your characteristics, your personality.
This is a terrible thing.
In what ways would the world improve, and in what ways would it, what's the word? Be worse?
Yeah. Deprove.
What's the deprove?
Disprove. Disapprove.
Yeah.
That I don't even know. I can't really think of anything that's good. Maybe everybody's just super chummy. Like everybody is just so like, hey bro, lots of.
Well, you're a very
vibes.
friendly person.
Yeah, like hugs and man.
Well, and I wonder, because here's the first thing that I think. I think there would be no wars. Now I don't know. Who knows if that's actually true? But I'm like, all the wars would stop.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put that much energy into fighting something. That's just not my personality.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would imagine, I wonder if we pose this question to everyone, all people would think, oh yeah, there wouldn't be any wars. You know what I mean?
I think I could see some wars with mine. We would never mean to.
Right.
Oh, it would be completely benevolent until it wasn't. Like until somebody just did that thing, I'm like, don't do that. It's like, well, I don't want you to do that. Well, I did this, so you can't. Well, no, I can because I did it. That's when it'd start off really simple, like just the lawns were just you cut.
You would be a victim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm always kind of a victim,
Yeah.
but it'd start with like you cut. Don't. Hey Ted, don't. Let's remember. I've got my fescue kind of ends right here, man. Don't. The Bermuda's not. And then it's like before you know it, we build a fence, and before you know it, the fence like you're weeding against the bottom of the fence, and it's killing the wood at the bottom. And then before you know it, man, it's street fights with knives. You know what I mean?
Right.
That is a great question, though. I do think there'd be moments of like, man, we are all having a really great time.
Yeah.
Until we weren't.
Yeah.
And then I think it could go bad.
So the ways that it would improve is it's a little more jovial.
Yeah, everybody's just kind of having a good time.
And the ways that it would be worse would be what? Because we already have wars, so that doesn't count.
I think until we all didn't want to do something. We were being asked to do something we just really didn't want to do. And then, woof.
So there's no trash pickup. It's not.
Listen, you laugh. I mean, it'd be a lot of that. It'd be a lot of like, who's just gonna do that? But I'm not. And then a chorus of I'm not. 100 billion people at the time.
With a great voice though.
And a guitar. Harmony. No, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But it'd be I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Okay. I have another question on here that I was debating because I was thinking, is this just a different way of asking the exact same question? I'm not sure, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it. What would you say is the sharpest double-edged sword in your personality. It's a single trait that is super advantageous, like you value it a lot, but it's a super sharp double-edged sword.
I know this one pretty quickly. I think for me, it is that. This is hard to say out loud because it does have like a good side. I have pretty, I have no problem with boundaries. Like it is something that I like about myself. Like I'm pretty good about knowing when I want to do. I mean, now Annie and I have to negotiate this and the kids in a very different way because those are people.
I would say Annie is the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys are both good at boundaries.
You would think she is. I actually think she's worse at it than she thinks she is because she's got such a strong helper bend, a strong helper bend, that if someone really needs something sincerely, it is hard for her not to help them.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's not an affliction of mine. So I think I've actually thought about this a lot in my adulthood, and I would say even especially in the last 3 years in my 40s, I really am good at kind of knowing that's not something I need or want to do, and thank you for asking, but no, I'll pass. Or, and I think a lot of times that's great. It protects time with my family, protects my work time or writing time or time with Annie or whatever. But man, the just sinister other side of that, that is just drives me crazy about myself is that one, it kind of assumes I know everything. So I kind of know what I need and I don't need, so I can set my life up that way. But it just doesn't. There's just not a lot of space for opportunities, or that was actually a lot better than I thought it was, or that person and I became really good friends and I didn't see that coming. So I think one of Annie's real gifts to me is that she is very much I think that's why I said that earlier. She's a lot better at kind of going, no, this could be cool, or that could be really helpful, or But so it's funny because I do like that I kind of know how to, when people talk about boundaries for me, and there's always, exceptions to the rule because there's some things I do have a hard time kind of saying no to or whatever. But for the most part, I would say, I'm pretty good at no, I'm good, or, sometimes to a prodigiously good level where I'm later I go, that could have been an amazing thing. And I'm yeah, just in the times I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But again, man, the other side of that is just so detrimental.
Well, one of the very first times we ever hung out, this was 20 years ago. I can't remember if it was the first time you and Wirtz came to campus to play. I feel like maybe it was the second go around or something like that. But there was a group of us, and I was house sitting at a house. Do you remember this?
No, but
and you guys came over. You guys were staying at the house, which of course, thinking back, I'm like, was that okay did I check in with the homeowners?
Yeah.
Or was I just I'm staying at a real house. Guys, stay with me.
A real house.
And all of us were hanging out, and we were all going over to a neighbor's house to hang, and we had just got there. And I remember, again, this was I barely knew you at this point. And you were just I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
Which bedroom am I sleeping in? And I remember that being especially at that time in my life, when you're in college and it's just everyone's hanging all the time. The fact that I had just met a human being who was I'm not going to go hang.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
I was I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
It really stuck with me.
Yeah, it's. That's on brand.
And that's where I led all those people to Christ that night, and we found all that cash. You remember that?
We started Google. We started Google that night in that room.
We started, and everybody has a share.
Yeah. It's a tricky. It's a really. Again, I would say maybe as much as anything that Annie does for me in my marriage is that she is
just pushing you out of that a little bit,
and she's got it super target locked on me. She knows exactly when that thing. And there's there's great versions. There's good things that come from that I think she really appreciates, but. I also know she knows it's watching a guy play poker. She knows my eye twitches a certain way. She's like, no, you need to do this. And I'm like, I don't think I do. I think it's something that, she's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm curious what yours is. Do you know?
I mean, what comes to mind first is I feel like, and again, this is a trait that I really value that has a sharp double-edged sword side of it, is I really see both sides of everything.
Oh, wow.
I feel like there's maybe a short list of scenarios where I'm like, objectively, here is the right answer, quote unquote, or whatever, however you say it. But I feel like, for the most part, I really see both sides of so many issues.
Wow.
That I feel like whenever I'm around people who, and I'm not saying that you and Annie are the opposite of this. Yeah. But whenever I'm around people who have a lot of opinions and like, I've thought about that, and here's, I'm like, I'm any given issue or topic for me is just like a whirlpool that you jump in and you go around, but you never land on anything. Yeah. That's how I feel about maybe most things. Yeah. Like it's a process. And how do I feel about this now? And I don't know. I'm just like, I would be a terrible like judge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or a jury. I've never had jury duty, but I'm sure I would be the guy who, like, 6 months in, they're like, we all get together again at the Holiday Inn Express conference room, and they're like, John, let's go over this again. And I'm like, that makes sense. Okay, let me hear the other side. I see that too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So
I see that in you. But it's funny. I feel like the one of the most helpful things for my thing is your thing. Like the older I get, in other words, I know this sounds crazy, but stay with me. Nowadays, something that Annie has helped me do is if let's say you and I went and played a show now, at the age we are now, and let's say we did one of your Yamaha things, and you're like, hey man, a bunch of us, and it's, I'm like I'm tired is bad for me, like, because it's almost like I lose all of my superpowers when I get tired.
Right.
And so I think some of that in me is just me going, I'm really not gonna, you're not gonna like the Bruce Banner version of me. Like the Hulk is what everybody loves, and you're gonna get Bruce Banner.
Right.
And so some of me is just knowing like, this is just smart for everybody. I just can't kind of do my thing. Which is fine. I mean, it's fine to not do my thing, but I think that way a lot of times.
Right.
But I think now one of the best things that happens that I try to employ more is if you did, and hey, knock on the door, hey man, I know you're about to, go to bed, but the band's all hanging. They said they'd love to hang. I think what has happened now is I'm like, okay, think of the other side of this. Mm-hmm. One, those guys are all great. Man, it'd be fun to, and like that, your thing actually helps me in those moments where I'm like, don't think of how you're thinking about this. Think about. There's other ways.
There
to
is
think,
another
possibility. There's another possibility. Yeah. So it helps me a lot.
David.
Sí.
Oui. Comment ça va?
Buenos días. Is that? I'm flexing my language skills.
I can see that you obviously learned a foreign language in high school.
I would put quotes about learning and then foreign language, and also in high school. Not exactly a strong suit. I really enjoyed it, but wasn't very great at it. It was not my favorite experience.
Oh, yeah. Well, it sounds like kind of a drag.
It was,
for most of us, quote unquote, learning a second language in high school or college wasn't exactly the high point of our academic careers.
Now listen, thanks to Babbel, the language learning app that sold more than 10 million subscriptions, there's an addictively fun and easy way to learn a new language.
So what language do you want to learn?
I'd say the first one, the language of love.
Yeah.
And then I'd really like to brush up my Spanish skills. I feel like every now and then I have a chance to kind of communicate, just to kind of flex a little bit, show what I got. And I'm always left a little warning. But I'm learning, John. I'm on the up and up.
I get that. So I'm going to go for French.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I studied, and again, I'm using the quotes, studied French in high school and college.
Yep.
I got a little bit, un peu.
Oh, okay.
Je peux parler un peu de le français.
Oh, look at you.
So I'm excited. Look, Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go, which we're all on the go all the time.
Yep.
Allez, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel's lessons were created by over 100 language experts.
There are so many ways to learn with Babbel. In addition to lessons, you can access podcasts, games, videos, stories, and even live classes. Plus, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee.
Oh, flamo. Okay. Right now,
so many flexes.
When you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for how much, Dave? How much do you think?
$1,000?
That would be a great deal, but it's free.
Oh, no.
You purchase 3 months, they give you 3 months. That's 6 months, Dave, for a price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use the promo code Dadville. That's BABBEL.com, code Dadville.
That is loco, John. Listen, start your new language learning journey today with Babbel.
You know, it's funny that you like named that scenario at a Yamaha thing, because one of the times that I was doing a big Yamaha show out in LA, and it's that exact scenario. Like, there's always, you do, like, these Yamaha shows there's typically like 4 or 5 artists. They're so fun. The band is amazing. They're so fun. And then there's always like an after party.
Yeah.
And I've done like 4 or 5 of these things, and I always go to the after party. And part of the reason why I go to the after party is because I feel like I should go to the after party.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure I've been on the spectrum of enthusiasm for going to the after party.
Yeah.
I always go.
Yeah.
I've told Amy this, and it's ridiculous to say, but I think truly one of the most joyous moments of my life was one time I didn't go to the after party. And I was just tired, and I went to the hotel.
I love that.
And I ordered room service.
Yes.
And I was watching like Downton Abbey on my laptop and eating this cheeseburger.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like I just did what I wanted to do in this moment.
Yeah.
And I am so happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have that problem.
Yeah.
Usually I do what I want to do in that moment.
It's good. It's a balance.
It is a balance. It is. Yeah, I have to be careful not to beat myself up too much with it.
Okay. I'm going to go for possibly one of the more serious.
Okay, here we go. Let's shift.
We'll see. And this may get uncomfortable, and if so,
I'm okay with that.
We can edit this out.
I'll put my shirt back on.
Or we can punch it up. You know what I mean?
Punch it up.
We can punch it up.
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever people ask me or pose to a group that I'm in, like, do you feel like you're someone who lives with a lot of regret? My knee-jerk reaction is no, I don't. I feel like I don't have a lot of regrets, you know. But as I was thinking about this, because again, and this is so me, and I'm getting more and more so this way as I get older, I'm always questioning, like, someone asks that question and I have kind of an answer for it, I'm immediately suspicious of my answer. Because I'm like, why'd you go to that answer so quickly?
So fast, yeah.
You're so sure that that's your answer. You don't live with regret. So I started to think about, what regrets do I actually have? What are the things that come to mind where it would fall under the category of a scenario in the past that I wish I could go back and do differently? Now, obviously, there's a million scenarios where I did the wrong thing, and I would like to go back and like not say that thing, you know, but I don't dwell on them.
Yeah,
you know, but I came to the conclusion that I feel like I always have one regret that I think has changed through. It's like I have this one little spot. It's like if the regret is like a picture on a wall, I have this one spot for a picture. And every couple of years, maybe I'll swap it out for a different one. But there's always one that I tend to fixate on.
It will change, but you kind of always have one that's hanging around.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I've noticed to be like specific. I think I've had 2 in the last 15 years.
Wow.
One was there until, one was there from 2008 until about 2 years ago.
Wow.
And I swapped it out for a new one.
Wow.
Right. And I want to say these are very trivial. Like I'm sure that people, when you say like, hey, do you have a lot of regrets? That feels heavy. So I feel like I want to say up front, these just happen to be the ones that I have sort of fixated on. Like they probably pop up in my brain once or twice a week for the last 15 years. The first one was the way I sang at the Academy Awards.
Oh, yeah.
In 2008.
Yeah. I get that vibe.
I hated that. I felt like I failed. I felt like it was awful. Like I remember being backstage, and we had rehearsals every day leading up to the performance. Like for a whole week, I would go to the theater, rehearse. It'd be great. It was such a blast. And then when it came time, there was so much build up to that moment.
Yeah.
And there's so many, they're like tens of millions and millions of people around the world. I think it might have been hundreds of millions of people watching, so they said. And I remember being so nervous. I was like, I've never been this nervous.
I can't imagine that.
I was like, I don't know what to do because I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're actually going to, if this were my show, I wouldn't go on right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm too
just
nervous.
wait. Yeah.
But then like it opens and it was fine. It wasn't like, it was fine.
Yeah.
Whenever I would bring it up to Amy, she's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You did great.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great.
Right.
It was okay. So then from there on, I would always think about it because partly because it's the thing that people like anytime someone's reading a bio of me, they always say that.
Yeah.
And so I'm always reminded of it. And I'm always like, that was my moment. That's definitely my biggest moment in the public eye. And I like struck out. It was bad. And then recently I've noticed, and it's funny because I didn't realize this until doing these little like random thoughts, which I'm really grateful for because I feel like I'm glad that I stopped and observed that, the last couple of years, I haven't thought about that. Like,
oh, wow.
And I think why is not because of time, because I think had this other thing not happened, I think I still would probably be fixating on my one regret. And the new one is, and thankfully it's less of a thing, but it's a thing. It's still filling that same role, is when we were interviewing Ted Danson.
Oh my gosh.
And I brought up that I was like, oh, what a perfect segue. Well, you must have loved working on that movie with your daughter that she wrote and directed and you starred in. And he was like, well, that didn't happen. And here's my regret. Now I feel like if that were to happen, I would just laugh and be like, oh my gosh, what a great, did you like my setup for that? I was so confident,
Yeah.
But I like froze up and I was like, but this has to have happened.
You've done your research.
I'd done my research, which of course is absurd because I'm talking to Ted. And he's like, well, that didn't happen. So I think he would remember if he, But I remember, and that was, early on in the podcast, that was our, I don't know, 8th, 10th episode or something like that. I just felt so nervous in that moment. So I think for me, it was like that same thing. It was like, that was your moment. You asked that question. You failed. You struck out. And I think I've maybe realized like, oh, is that how I work? I always have to have one thing.
Yeah, that you kind of have.
That's my thing.
That's like there.
That gives fuel to the voice that says you're not, like you choke. You're a choker.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's been really interesting for me to realize that like I still don't feel like I'm someone who is just riddled with regret by any means.
Right.
But it has given me a little pause whenever that question comes up. Now I know I'm like, well, I've done some like observation of myself, and it's like I maybe don't have like a wall full of regret pictures, but I always have this one, So Do you think when you hear that question, like, are you someone who lives with a lot of regret? What's your answer? And what would you say do you have any kind of running regret or running thing that you think of like that? Is it at all look like what I just described for you?
Yeah, that is a really good question. And no.
Okay. Favorite color?
Yes, okay. Oddly enough, regret red. No, it is so funny. You said that so well, and it resonates absolutely with me. I want to say something, though, quickly to what you said. I think something that is very interesting about your two regrets is they both are regrets that have to do with performances and things that you haven't done a lot. Like, so you've played a billion shows, and we've interviewed people, and you've talked to people in life, but it is, if there's any relief for you, it's interesting because you've never sung in front of that many people ever. So it wasn't something that was like, God, I should have knocked that out of the park. This is the 15th time I've done an award show.
Right.
And then for us, again, it was so early in the podcast. I mean, I still feel like we're both learning things now, and we're 70 or 80 in.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that both of yours are couched in something that you really don't have the right to be mad at yourself around because they're very unique. Be one thing if, like, you had done literally, like, let's say you had done 10 award shows in that season because you're promoting the movie and they want you to do them. And you're like, man, I've got this pretty down. And then you have a moment where you're like, man, I just really didn't stick the landing on that. Then there's a little more understanding of like, oh man, yeah, I kind of regret that or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting, both of those. There's kind of like a, there's not really a reason for you to feel like that. There's not good data around like, well, no, you should, John. So it's like your brain is reaching so hard. It's like, oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Without any context. Exactly. That's wonderful.
And he's not going to have the chance to redeem himself.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great point. If you asked me, I would definitely say, I mean, that is not a way that my brain works. My brain has other things that are wildly dysfunctional about it, and patterns that it follows for dysfunction and sin or whatever you want to call that. But that is not one that is that is in my lexicon. Like, I just don't regret a lot of things. But I will say this. Now, that said, and like you, I think until a few years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, man, I have other struggles that we could talk about for a long time. Yeah. For whatever reason, that's just, I don't spend a lot of time thinking like that. Yeah. I think if anybody knows the Enneagram, my number is a 7, and we're future oriented. So I'm kind of always thinking in the future. So anxiety can kick in, or over obsessing about things can be a struggle, but it's rare that I'm looking backwards. It's just really rare that I'm sitting pontificating on past events. Right. Like, I tend to move on, which probably is much in a very subliminal way because I don't want to think about regrets. I just want to move on. Yeah. So they're still there. They're just not,
they're unobserved.
They're unobserved. Well, very well said. I do think, this is very vulnerable and candid. I think for me, a struggle in my 40s career-wise is just this feeling of irrelevance, of kind of like, like, does anybody care about this music? Is anybody around to listen to it? What happened to people that used to? Just being really honest and candid. Yeah. And what that will dovetail joint into is regret about the ways I've made decisions about my career. And like, man, if I had chosen to do this or sign for a bigger label back in the day, or really pushed harder for bigger tours to open for, or like chose to write songs. There we go. That were a little more commercial or radio friendly. Would my career be bigger, or would I be seeing different things come from my life? I think that is one on the dark days that I can get a little looped on. But I will say this. I think the reason that I don't really have regrets, and it by the grace of God, and I really mean this, it really dissolves that regret, is I'll go, okay, play that out. No, stop. Sit, like, stare that regret down and like talk to it. Now, let's say when you were 21, 22 writing that first record, the full length Brother Bring the Sun, you know, your regret 43-year-old self had sat down with you and gone, hey, bro, we're at a pretty monumental moment here. Like I know you got the songs for it, but before we send that thing out, hey, why don't you sit and write like 2 or 3 of the most catchy songs you can think of? My 22, 3-year-old self would have been like, that's not what I want. I want to write these kind of songs. That's what matters to me.
Yeah.
And and I know, again, this is so funny because it's even in the way you've asked these questions, it goes back to what we asked 2 things ago. Like, I just don't question. I'm not one I would have seen one side of that. I'd have been like, I don't want to do that. And I know even more than twice as much as my 43-year-old self, my 22-year-old self would have been like, no, we're done with this conversation. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And it would have been like, oh, so I think one thing that helps me when I get into a little bit of those cycles of that is I go, okay, run that. Like, if that is a regret, what is the other way that could have gone? But be realistic. Like, don't think of John in that scenario. Think of you in that scenario. How would you have handled it? And almost every time with these kind of, obviously there's regrets with conversations or relationships that are wildly different.
Right.
Wildly different that I would go back and change. But I think in these scenarios where I struggle with it tends to be more occupational creative.
Yep.
And I'm like, if I went back, I still would have made that choice then because that was the information I had at the time. And it's really what I felt at the time. And I don't regret my life now. I'm unbelievably thankful for it. Unbelievably thankful for it. I really wouldn't change a thing to ultimately answer that question. But on the dark days or nights or watching the Grammys or the award shows or your friends playing that thing and you're, it's hard for me not to sit and go like, God, if I had just made I don't know what would have happened, but man, I could have made decisions that might have changed the trajectory of things. But ultimately, all I can look at is how thankful and satisfied I am now and go, well, I really like who doesn't have a moment or two where you're like, God, that could have been cool. But if ultimately I'm really thankful and grateful for where I am, that's kind of an answer in itself. There's not this pining. And I think that's something that I have to be really careful of is like, as those things sort of enter my life, I think and I think obviously this, we talk about this so much, but that is one of the quirks of what we do is that you're not competing with older better, you're competing with younger, newer, novel. And so there's just always younger, faster, better, handsomer, more, more gas in the tank people than us.
Right.
And so it's a weird industry to keep going in because this is where I always talk about how much what we do is like sports because there's always the faster guy that just wide receiver, the guy that's in a lot better shape than you are, and so, or girl or band or whatever. And so I think that's one of the disciplines, and it really is a discipline for me that I have to have is like knowing that is a thing. And you're always going to deal with it. If you choose to be in our industry, there's just going to be some new amazing artist all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I have to go, that's going to start a little process for me where I go, God, I could have, why didn't I? Should I have hired these people? Should I have worked with this, done that label? And it's like, it's just such a waste of time because you really have to have, ultimately for me, I think the very end of this answer is I really have to believe that what God has let happen, he let happen on purpose. There's that Tim Keller quote that he tweeted today. And I'm like, this is the stuff to me that's so powerful. What did he say? It was so beautiful this is a little different because it's like, it's like, it's a little more about prayer, but I think like, this is what he always says. And I think it does. God will either give us what we ask for in prayer or give us what we would have asked for if we knew everything he knows.
Huh.
Isn't that
Wait,
great?
say that again?
God will either give us what we ask for in prayer or give us what we would have asked for if we knew everything he knows.
Right.
And I think a little bit of that applies to this scenario where I'm like, look, there were bad things that happened, good things, but it happened as God saw it fit to happen. And so I just got to trust that because it's tricky because I think regret can do this thing to us where it actually does make us think we know better than we do.
Right.
Like whatever scenario I wanted would have been the best thing. And I just think God's like,
right.
Oh, so suddenly you do know how, because I think of like you with singing, at the show or whatever. I know this sounds crazy, but let's say you had killed it. Let's say you'd gotten up there and you walked off. You're like, I've literally never sung that good. Who knows the opportunities that might have brought into your life that somebody is like, we got to have you come to, and all of a sudden you're on this different trajectory that you're like, this is actually not what I want to play my piano and do the thing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, David Foster wants you to be the next Michael Bublé. And then you got to make a whole new set of, that may have been good, may have been bad, but for whatever reason they didn't happen. And I just think for me, I have to remember, like, I don't know those things. For whatever happened, that is what happened. God saw fit for it to happen. And I am now where I am and so grateful where I am because that happened like it happened.
Right.
Not because I know the other way and it would have been and I could have. It's like, no, man, you don't know that. You don't know
exactly
the good and bad that could have been brought in from those things.
Well, and I feel like 3 things. One, like you're saying, when you stop yourself and you sort of just play out a hypothetical, you know, I do think it ties in, I think some of my, it's kind of like where they say, like, you know, what makes you angry ultimately tells you what you love.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like this regret probably has some ties into some of my core fears, which I really fear. One of my things is just security, right? Which is true for a lot of people.
Yep.
And I think if I play that out, let's say David Foster calls and I, you know, and I love that kind of music. Like part of me is like, I could do that. I love Michael Bublé. All those kind of like American songbook kind of love it. Let's say I do it, and let's say I enjoy it, and let's say maybe there's a part of me that regrets, or that is gonna be in tension because I'm not doing the music that I wanted to create. But let's say I could overcome that and live with it. Fine. And here I am, and what? I've got more money in the bank, maybe a lot more money in the bank.
Yeah.
When you parse it down, for me, who money is a thing that I worry about.
Yeah.
It really loses a lot of its power because I'm like, well, more money in the bank.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a fiscal problem.
Yeah. I think ultimately it at least reveals to me, here's why you're kind of thinking about this.
Yeah.
It's because you would like to have more security than what you have right now. And thankfully, I truly believe one of a couple things. One, I truly believe bank accounts don't fill up. There is no full.
Right.
So I really believe you could add a 0 or 2 zeros or whatever onto whatever amount of money I have in the bank right now. And I know I would just adjust myself.
Yep.
And it would be the same.
Right.
And 2, thankfully, maybe it would be different. Maybe all these answers, or at least to this question, would be different if I weren't so content in my life right now. But I love, like you're saying, I love my life.
Yeah.
I love my kids. I love my wife. I love the fact that I get to do this podcast with you. Make music. I mean, it's just the best. It's like, I can't even believe it. 90% of the time I'm in that headspace, and it helps me deal with the 10%. And another thing that helps me deal, my last point, is hearing you talk about your struggles with this. It's like the exercise where they tell people to speak to yourself or journal to yourself in the third person.
Yeah.
And there's some kind of like neuro, like power in that, because it's in some way separates yourself from the scenario and allows you to see it a little more objectively. And whenever and I like when you're talking about the things, your sort of, hangups with your career and all that, which are the same as mine. And so I'm not like trivializing them. But I'm saying to hear you talk about it from my perspective makes me be like, oh, okay.
We all got it.
You're literally saying this with like, look at all these plaques behind you. It's like this puts it all in perspective.
It's just,
and again, it doesn't trivialize any of it.
Right.
It's all valid. It's all real that you're thinking, just like my thoughts are real. But it just makes you step back and be like, okay, if nothing else, it tells me I could have a room full of Grammys and plaques and all that, and it would be the same. I would just adjust myself.
Man, when John and I started the Dadville podcast, we had no idea what we were doing.
I mean, zero idea. That was till we found Anchor.
Exactly. Anchor is a free service that will help you build and distribute your podcast. It's so easy that it allows you to record and edit your podcast right on your phone or your computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more.
That's right. And they'll help you make more money on your podcast with no minimum listenership.
So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
I'm reading this book called Strength to Strength that Acuff recommended. And the guy basically makes this point, which is really fascinating. He says, because it's talking about the transition from like how your 20s and 30s are so productive, and it's really an occupational thing. It's not life, but it also applies, I think, personal life. But his point is like there's just been 1 billion studies showing like your output in most jobs, and even goes through the kind of occupations, is really going to be at its highest in your 20s and 30s. That's like where your brain and your life just tend to, you're super creative, you're elastic, you're moving, you're doing.
Right.
And then like how really in your 40s and 50s, you just can't do that kind of thing anymore. Now you can do a different cool thing that's just as productive, but it's not that thing.
Yeah.
And so I think even in one of the points that he makes in this book is that it's even worse for people who have a lot of success in that season in their life because the fall off is so intense. That he's like, if you study jobs, and the jobs that are more consistent, that sort of don't have these high peaks, they tend to really do this a lot. They transition a lot better because there's not as much of a fall off. They just kind of get into their 30s, 40s, 50s and go, oh man, I'm not what I once was, but man, I'm still doing it. It's fine. And he lists those jobs, but he's like, man, you get into like performance-based jobs, and this is really hard for people because they look at like, I used to play for this, or I used to be this fast, or I caught that many touchdowns in my 3rd year, whatever. And they're like, here I'm in my 10th year doing whatever it is, again, our job, whatever. And they're like, why is this not going like it used to? And his argument is literally this is the way the body works. This isn't even about like your ability. It's just like, welcome to just the way the human body works and how it fatigues. And so I think it's been encouraging reading that book because to your point, I'm like, this is a pretty well-worn path. I think there's nothing that's new to this struggle. I mean, Solomon's struggle, with Ecclesiastes, you see this too. Like there's nothing new under the sun. But I think at the same time, in some occupations, it's even harder because I think there is this, and I think especially in our career where novelty is king, the new thing is always the best thing. It's very rare that bands on their 10th record are still, everybody's raving about them, because it's just that it by then. So even more so, I would think for what we do, it's tricky because it's like you may have written the best song. You may go to your house today and really write, all data involved, the best song you've ever written. But it's just going to be hard for your people to take that in as the best song you've ever written because you've written so many good songs. And so they're going, no, I can, without John, that is, listen, you've had great, but it's going to be like, that is another great John McLaughlin song.
Yeah.
Just because like.
And there are no memories attached to it.
Yeah.
It's just coming in cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on this, and I think it's been really, you can think about this stuff too much, but I think that this has really been on my radar for the last couple years. And so you start to kind of, like anything, you start to see it in other areas.
Yeah, right.
And, I'm a massive tennis fan. And Roger Federer is one of my favorite tennis players of all time. And, for people who don't follow tennis, Roger Federer has been for the last, 10 years, arguably the greatest of all time. Like we don't get in all the stats, but he's the greatest of all time. He's 40 now, or he'll be 40 this year, something like that. He's like one of the older. I mean, many tennis players retire well before he's been done. He's had some injuries. All this to say, he hasn't been playing really for like the last year or so, and he's kind of on his way out. And seeing the way that he's not even in the conversation anymore. I mean, he's always going to be Roger Federer, and he's always going to have his fixture in tennis for sure. But like, in the video montages before a tournament, I'm noticing
he's not in there as much.
He's not in there.
Yeah.
And as they're kind of talking about, they're only talking about active players, of course, but it's like Roger Federer, who is the Michael Jordan of tennis, he's not a part of the conversation anymore. And he was, he's still technically playing. Like he was in, the French Open last year. Like, so to see just how like fickle and universal all this is for everyone, it is ultimately, again, you can fixate on it too much, but it's helpful to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, maybe we'll do 2 rapid fire ones here at the end. Is there any habit that you started when you were young? Not like when you were 4, but like, youngish, teenage, Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like a daily habit. Is there any habit that you still do to this day?
Bite my nails.
Have you been biting your nails since you were what?
As long as I can remember.
As long as you can remember.
And I cannot kick it. What is worse than hates? Is there detests, loathes,
is disgusted
abhors,
by?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it. Ding, ding, ding.
You think she's ever packed a bag over it?
She has flirted with it.
Yeah.
I mean, man.
You start seeing her like Amazon orders are a lot of travel size things.
Oh God, yeah. For me, she's like, you got to go. I hate it so much. But
what's funny about biting nails is I can't bite my nails. I don't know. I don't know if my nails are too strong. I can't
they're probably
bite them.
too strong. Yeah, you're probably just too strong.
My whole body is too strong until you get here, and then I can't bite those nails off. All the strength is gone here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being a kid and being jealous of, like, sometimes I would do this, like put my nail on it because I thought it kind of looked cool, but I couldn't bite them,
My, I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
Surprise.
Okay.
My take on that is this, though. Something I've learned about myself is I'm definitely an anxious person. I have a lot of energy. Not necessarily physically, but a lot is going on in my brain all the time.
Yeah.
A lot. I think for me, I would rather keep that habit because it is such a well-worn path of a way for me to get it out of my body and it not be whatever, pick the other things that it could be. I mean, I'm sure there's great versions, like go for longer runs or go work out. But for me, I'm like, listen, me and my body have negotiated a pact, and it is that for all of that energy in me, there's just times where I'm going to bite my nails, and it actually is satiated. Like it's sort of like, okay, I'm keeping it in a nice.
Well, let's talk about, biting your nails kind of falls under one of those bad habit categories. But what is bad about it? Why is it bad?
It's one. I think Annie is like, it's just gross. Like you're touching all of these. That's always been her play. Is like, do you know the stuff you touch through the day, and then you put that right in your mouth? Like, do you know my immune system? It is like the man of steel.
But I feel like if we're gonna go there,
if
we're gonna go down that rabbit hole, then it's like, well, we do gross things all the time. If my hands are truly disgusting,
get Annie out and you just say all this right to her, I want to see how well.
We should get her on the podcast. We should get Annie and Amy on here
shame
to talk about all of our bad traits.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think. Well, and I don't know. That is actually a really. Somebody listening to this right now is screaming in their Tesla. They're like, no, I can tell you every reason that's a bad. But I think
I would like to know, actually, for those listening, like, comment to us. Tell us
not
why
to
it's
me.
bad.
Just send it to John and DM. Yeah. I don't need to see that. It'll shame me too much.
I'll print it out and give it to Annie.
that'll be my regret.
Yeah,
that'll be the hanging picture of regret in my life. Yeah, I think for her it's just like, and I think it's pedantic. I think it's something kids do. I think that's probably the other move. It's like, oh, you see a little boy who's nervous, he bites his nails. But like, now she has never ever shamed me. Like that's not. I'm not speaking in her voice at all.
Right.
But I sort of attach my own thing to like, oh, I think it's because it's like, but I can't. I mean, it is like I have had the only time that I ever stopped. I stopped. We went to Africa the first time, Annie and I. She was like, I will literally shiv you in your sleep if you bite your nails on this trip. We are literally coming in contact. Like we were deep in the bush in southern Sudan, like got into Darfur. I mean, we were out there. And she's like, there are literally things we have not encountered that you could put in your mouth because you're biting
your body just doesn't know what it is.
It doesn't know what it is. And I didn't. I mean, like, I was super disciplined for about 3 weeks and didn't do it. And she was like, oh. And then the minute we landed in the States, it was like, ying, ying,
I do feel like at this point, it's like a pipe that for 43 years has had this one little leak. And you're like, at this point, I don't know if we should plug up that leak because what's going to happen?
It's going to pop out somewhere else, and I do not
Or
trust.
the whole thing's going to explode.
I just die. Like I'm 3 weeks in, you find me back here just dead. Like, wow, that went left.
Yeah, and all your nails are super long.
I look like Methuselah or somebody they find like trapped. Yeah. Do
Okay.
you have one? Do you have a habit? Or a discipline?
I don't know that I do. I mean, I guess I don't think I do. The only thing that I could think of is when I was really, really young, my brother, I have a sister who's 3 years older, and my brother's 6 years older. He is the most self-disciplined person that I know.
Wow.
And he would get up at like 5 a.m. every morning and like go work out and like,
Jeez.
pray and read. And
Jeez.
so, and I haven't done it. There have definitely been seasons of my life where I haven't done it. But I think the fact that I get up early and do my thing, that is a habit that I have kind of, in general, have had throughout my whole life since, I was 7 or 8 or whatever.
That's amazing.
Because I would get up with him because I just wanted to be with my brother.
Oh, that's so cool.
We'd be doing like sit-ups,
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
We would put on the Eagles Hell Freezes Over DVD.
And
we'd watch it every morning.
Holy cow. That is the most not pump up music I've ever heard. Maybe other than like the Celine Dion live in Vegas or like Yanni at the Acropolis.
Very true. That's very true. Yeah. Well, and that's why I don't have giant muscles. Okay, last question.
Yeah.
What was your worst fashion phase of your life so far?
You know this. That's tricky though, because it was cool at the time, man. I have never been one. Oh boy. Oh, I just backed way into something though, as I said that. Well, let me say this. I've never been one to be super conscious of fashion trends. Like, sadly, that's just not. And you would think someone in our occupation, you have at least have a third eye on it. Something that's kind of always.
But would you say that you care about what you're wearing?
I care that I'm making sure I'm not wearing something somebody's going to be like, what are you wearing?
Yeah.
From there, if you told me there was an outfit that I could wear that people would always be like, yeah, it's pretty cool, I'd just wear that all the time.
Yeah.
I just don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
But there have definitely been seasons where like, I would like, especially with the beginning of my career where I was kind of like, okay, I got to be a little more thoughtful about this. Like, things that I would, like shirts that were just, this is what you and I laugh about 90% of the time when we talk about this. Like the Goodwill shirts were like a little too tight.
Yes.
The super duper flared diesel, the Zathans, which I still are like my favorite jeans probably of all time.
When I see pictures
the Steve Madden
of that,
shoes with the really aggressive soles, like the super pointed
Yes.
soles.
I can't believe, like whenever I see a picture like that where I'm wearing a skin tight shirt from Goodwill and then
basically parachute pants.
Parachute pants.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a doctored photo.
But it has to be. But here's the
way.
thing about that is you have to, I think with any time you make fun of fashion, it has to be in context. Because the minute you zoom out, you're like, well, John, you look just like Matt, who looks just like Dave, who looks just like, like there were too many of us doing that. You can't just put the lens on you because it's not fair.
Right.
You have to go. And
but it's so crazy, the jeans we were wearing.
Oh, God.
Crazy.
I wore those things. I literally, how you would, this was half of the style is it would get worn out the back and the hem wouldn't be there anymore on the back of your feet because they're just so, you're just stepping on them all the time. Right. I think the other, here's a regret. Ed Cash, when I was working for him, and Ed, I had so much love and respect for him that if he told me to do something, I'd just do it because I thought he's the coolest person I know. He was like, we should shave your head. And I was like, let's freaking do it. And we shaved my head, and I grew a little lip tee, like a little soul patch. Mm-hmm. To this day, it's still the thing Annie probably picks on me the most for. And I really owned it. Like, it's God's.
You gotta own it if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, like you don't do that half-heartedly. Mm-hmm. To God's kind grace in my life, when I recorded my first EP, 3 Them 4, and Cowart did the pictures, the one that made the cover was from my neck down, and now I know why. because I think Jeremy was just like, I don't know, maybe the face isn't the feature. And in retrospect, I'm not kidding. I am so thankful. And now the picture was in the, there was like pictures on the back and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what in the heck? That is without context. There's no, everybody was doing shaved head and lip tee. Like, no. That was just like, for some reason, I thought, this is how I enter the
But that's one of those things where it's like everyone wasn't doing it, but there's always a subculture.
And let me tell you,
throughout history,
I was the tip of the spear for that culture. People were really looking to me going, if this guy's doing it. And then that's when I met Wirtz was the gateway drug to so many fashion things in good ways. That's like a compliment. Like he was the first person I met that was like, hey bro. Now the other thing she makes fun of is the highlights. Like he was Wirtz was going, he was the first person to pay like $50 for a haircut. And at the time I was like, that's like a week of food for me. But he's like, bro, you got to go to this girl. She's going to, and sure enough, when she gave me like blonde highlights and all of a sudden I was like, God's gift to
You've never been so attracted to yourself.
I don't know that you've ever said anything more true than that. I just remember thinking like, I have never been cool, but my gosh. It felt like with the girl in the movie with glasses.
Right, in the ponytail.
Like I got done with that first $75 haircut and I mean she washed it out and I looked at myself and I thought, I don't know that I'm going to make it to the car without women just jumping me. And then like stood in the parking lot and women walked by and didn't pay attention. I thought, okay, let's just give it a little time. It's a new look.
Okay, you're playing it cool. You're playing it cool. Good for you.
I mean, that was Matt though. He was the diesel guy. He was the guy that was like, this is Matt always, and still does have such a eye. He does have that third eye. He's kind of always like, this is what's happening. But he had a way to assimilate and still does it. He looks cool.
Yeah.
Where like someone like me would be obviously riding coattails.
Yeah.
And but
I'm the same. I don't. And we actually had dinner with them the other night, and I asked them because Amy, my wife, she loves fashion. She knows what's cool and fashionable, and obviously Matt and his wife Annie are super fashionable. And I asked the three of them, I'm like, how do you guys? How does it work?
Yeah.
How do you know what's cool? Who's making these decisions?
Yeah. Who are you following?
Whenever I see you guys, I see you, and I'm like, yeah, that looks like it's cool.
Yeah, cool.
That's for sure. Yeah. That's cool. But I don't know who says that that's cool.
I think one of my afflictions is that I was born to look like a youth director. And so if I wear anything, it looks like a youth director trying to pull something off.
Right.
And it's a really scary little slippery slope.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Do you think that you'll ever go back to the shaved head soul patch thing? Don't answer. Actually, don't answer now. Because I don't want to. Let's not put God in a box.
Okay. Do you think, how excited would you be? 3, 2, well, no, that's going to stay in my,
maybe.
How excitedly would you pee and would you be if flares like really came back? Now, guys, everybody listening, we're not talking those skateboard, like, what's the store in the mall? Like not the
Axon.
Yeah, like not the crazy flares you could fit a family under them, but I'm talking like, just kind of boot like
cut.
Kind of extreme boot cut diesels.
I just feel like I'm at the point now because I'm always behind.
Yeah.
Amy is always
she's on it.
Buying me stuff. And I remember it would have been like 2015 maybe. 24. She probably bought me the first, what I would say is a blouse in 2012 or something like that. Or, and I'm like, I can't wear that. It's like, it's super long. And then by the time I finally get around to like, she'll make me wear it, I'll wear it. And then I start to get used to it. And then I'm like, I like this.
It's out.
It's out.
Yeah.
So I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm not, guys, can I just find my thing?
Yeah, and then that's what
this goes back to the rector, like trying to find a uniform.
Yeah.
I just want to find my uniform. Yeah. Like Levi's, straight leg, whatever. The ones that are like the equivalent of the little black dress.
Yeah.
It's just never going to change.
Yeah.
I'll just buy 10 of those.
Yeah.
And T-shirts that are normal fitting, and we're done.
Okay, I had a thought. Here's our last thought. I emailed this, or I sent Mike a little voice note about this morning. We were laughing about it. I was like, I saw a guy walking on the way to school who was probably in his late 50s, early 60s, so not old. Like, not a guy I thought, this guy's old. But I could tell, like, he's in He's in a latter part of life than I am, but he's out on a walk, and he had one of those fishing shirts, like on his walk. So like long pants that look like maybe fishing pants, Clarks, like the brown Clarks, like the sort of, I don't know, like kind of generic Clarks, like, you know what I'm saying?
Are those like walking shoes?
Yeah, but kind of like you should be in the woods walking with him. But he's on the street.
Okay.
But then like a fishing shirt, that like Columbia, like it has the vents.
like the flaps.
Yes, it has the vents. So cloth doesn't touch each other; it goes over each other, and there's vents under that. And I thought, that guy, like this. He has made some decisions. He's on a walk. He's not going fishing. But, like, he's like, this, that's what I'm walking in. This is a great walking outfit. Just thought, like a hat on. And I just thought, like, how many years am I from that? And I was dead serious. I wasn't trying to be funny. I was like, 10? Is it like?
Because I could see that guy being like, there aren't outfits. I don't have a walking outfit.
Yeah.
I have clothes.
Yeah.
What? Tell me why this is not a walking outfit.
It has vents.
I, by definition, will make it a walking outfit.
Yes. And I just thought, I'm a lot closer to that than I've ever been. That's how I'll say that. Yeah. And Micah's response was, if you saw the outfits that I wore down to the buy right to buy groceries, I may already be there. And I just think, you get to that and then you just go backwards. It's kind of like, well, we're just running to the kids. We're running to a party. We're just running to see all of our friends.
It's not about the outfit. It's about the importance that we place on whatever we're getting ready to go do.
There you go.
Right? Amy and I were just talking about this the other night. We remember, like, in my hometown, it's not there anymore, but we used to have this chain. No, the hometown's there.
Oh, God, that's scary.
We had this chain of gas stations called Rickers.
Okay.
And they had these drinks called Rickers Pops. There's nothing about it that is special. They're just sodas.
Okay.
In styrofoam cups.
Oh.
They didn't even have anything on them. They were just generic styrofoam cups. But there was so nothing going on in our hometown.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
That getting a Rickers was the thing.
Ooh.
And we were just talking the other day about how back in the day we had some friends who, like, if they were going to go to the Rickers to get a soda, which takes 4 minutes.
Yeah.
They would, like, get their makeup on, get their,
who
like,
knew you were going to see
the
Rickers?
right. You don't know who you're going to see. Now it's like it's not that I don't want to look good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get to Rickers.
But man, but that's a slope. That's what Micah's point was. Like, you are that the importance of those things all just starts to go down, and then as does your outfit. So it's like, we're just running to Rickers. That turns into like, I'm just going to grab food real quick and come home.
Right.
Well, then we're just going to eat with some friends at Martin's. We're just going to
and we know them super well.
Yeah, it's just they're giving me an award and a thing. It doesn't matter. I'm on stage for 2 seconds.
It's all about the reason why you get all dolled up to go to Rickers when you're younger is because you want some things you don't have yet. And now I'm 39. I got the things. I've got what am I going to meet someone?
Yeah.
I've got
Lionel Richie is not at Martin's waiting to meet me.
And if he is, he'll probably be wearing the same thing.
You're getting the real John. Okay, there's no pretense, Lionel. Let's get together and jam, okay? You know the real me.
Okay. We did it.
I can't believe we ended with Lionel Richie.
This was great. Lionel Richie getting the soda in sweats.
Dadville.